My name is Dharam Singh, and I'm going to have an interview today with Michelle. And Michelle has been great so far, and she was my student, and she passed her a PgMP exam on 28th of November 2022. So first of all, congratulations, Michelle, for achieving this milestone.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
and
excited.
yeah,
Yeah, very excited.
exactly. And so, I'm also excited. Always look for anybody who come to me and get the certificate in the shortest possible time. And celebrating the success is very important for me. So as of now, I can proudly say 446 PGMPs from 52 countries.
Wow.
So
Wow. It's
it
impressive.
is it is around 12%, I think, around 11, 12%. The people trusted me, and they've gone through the journey and got the certificate.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Michelle is coming with a huge experience, a lot of experience as a program manager, project manager, over 23 years of experience. And you have various roles in various industries, such as utilities, motor vehicle in manufacturing,
Yes.
business consulting services, hospitality, advertising. Wow, it's all very different. Personal care,
Yes.
insurance, healthcare, information services, IT, considering you've got so much, so much. Very good, very nice.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you
you.
are a bachelor's in computer science, computer engineering system, information system from University of Michigan. So you got lots of feather in your hat.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So tell us a little more about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm just great to be here. I started at the, like you said, as you mentioned, at the University of Michigan, and started in actually as a programmer in SQL. Back then, it wasn't a developer; it was a while ago. I don't mean to date myself, but I was a programmer in SQL. And then I went into business as a business analyst, talking to the business owners, end users, and then the application developers or the programmers back then. And then I began to learn about this project management thing. What is this project management? And I became very impressed with it. And I started it in 2005. I became interested. And then at that time, I didn't have the PMP. I was just learning about it. Not yeah, the huge recession of 2009, 8, 9. And I'm here in the auto industry, and so everybody who was a project manager, even the project coordinators, had their PMPs. I didn't have that, and so I began to go and search about the PMP. So I enrolled in a university and got a like a scholarship for people who were displaced from the auto industry, because that's where I was. And then got some credits, took my credits towards the PMP, and took the PMP. I took the PMP twice, and then I succeeded, and then I stayed at the same university and got my MBA. It wasn't like what I was trying to do, but that's what I did. It was really good. So I got my MBA, and then kept going. And I'm like a lifelong learner, and even Durham is trying to get me to do more things and more things. What's okay? You got the PgMP. What's the next? What's the next? But I really am a lifelong learner, and so I've been a PMP for some time, and I was thinking, okay, well, what's this PgMP about? I was working at a automotive company, and my project built into a program, like the collective projects, with the same benefit. And so it was a program, if you will. And so I became interested in this PGMP. And so I went after that, and did not succeed the first, second time, lots of times. I'm not ashamed, but it took me a couple tries to get it done. But Durham and my parents and my friends just kept me, you know, going, just keep going, maybe take a step back for a moment, but keep your mind fresh. And then I finally got it done in November last year.
Fantastic. It's first thing I want to acknowledge that you never give up and you keep pushing yourself while you're going through a number of things. life is not easy, and there were a lot of things going on. You keep pushing yourself and trying differently, a different way. So finally, when you came to me last time, and then we worked together on this certificate, and you got the certificate, and now you are a PGMP. Fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much. I was so excited. I had been used to sitting at that computer and it says, unfortunately, you didn't pass. Unfortunately, you didn't pass. And so the last time I made it, I just sat at the computer for a moment and just was so thankful and just clapping my hands and bowing my head down. And I don't know, many of you are in a religious institution, but I was just so thankful and I prayed, and that I finally got it done because it was so long. So I'm so thankful.
Yeah. So the important thing is you got your certificate. Yes, as I said, things happen, and you made it possible. The important thing, guys, keep going. Sometimes things happen, and so work it out. Don't never ever give up. Very important.
Right,
That's what
right.
Michelle is. Never
Yes.
ever, she keep pushing herself, and got there. So Michelle, thank you for sharing your journey.
Absolutely.
And later on, we can talk about some of what you were learning and something else. That's a different story. But
Sure.
today's topic is very important, and why is important? Because we are working with various stakeholders at different time. Start of the project, start of the program, and midway or later part, you have to work with the stakeholder. If they are not engaged, they are not happy, then somehow they can derail your program.
Mhm.
So today we can talk about engaging stakeholders for project success. Yeah, everybody wants a success, and that's where we are. What can we do to make the project more successful? Okay, and it's not about always the cost, and you can deliver within budget and time. Quality is there, everything is there, but still the stakeholder is not happy. It can be because you have not taken few steps to engage with stakeholders. Okay, so that's what, yes, theoretically we learn as part of the theoretically we think that stakeholder, we learn in PMBOK, and we learn in standard for program management. Everywhere we learn, but it's about the practical, how to build my relationship, what they're looking for, how they're looking for. Anyway, so I have few questions, so I will
Okay.
talk about that, and my team has have been working with very hard to come up with this question, and then we have discussed. So the first question I have for you, Michelle, is what are the key skills required for managing stakeholder engagement? And before we start talking, maybe talk a little bit more about the stakeholders, who the stakeholders are. Yeah,
Oh,
please go ahead.
okay. Okay. So we can have our. We oftentimes think of our stakeholders as the executives, and so the senior leadership of the project or program, and like the project sponsor, the program sponsor, and the ones who kind of you have to answer to, and those are the ones that are most important, of course. Then we also have to look at our project team members as stakeholders. So I think that anybody who is a part of a project is a stakeholder, because you have some vested interest in making sure the project is a success. So of course, the project or program sponsor has a vested interest because it's tied to their budget most likely. But also the project team members are stakeholders because they're working towards and they're delivering on the project or program success. And
Mm.
they're the ones who are in the trenches day to day. So I would say, you want to listen to especially your larger stakeholders, but really anybody who's on your project is a stakeholder. You have the senior leadership, then you have the BAs, you have your application developers and testers, and so anybody really is a stakeholder.
Yeah. So what do you think? What skills we need to have the engagement?
Okay, a key area is of course communication, because it always starts there. You have to be able to communicate, be able to understand what how you need to engage with them. So sometimes it is meetings, like big meetings, like big staff meetings, or meeting the key areas in the war room, when we were, most times in the office. But you have your war room environments, or even virtually now, you have your bigger meetings, or even, agile, even, can be your agile team. So you have to communicate. That's number one. And then sometimes you might have to negotiate, because you might have some areas where people are not, you know, or they might want to say, we would have, A rather than B, but sometimes you need both, and you need to be able to have an opportunity to talk to your stakeholders, to be able to negotiate. And then along with that is conflict resolution, and that kind of comes in with being a project manager and having a team, and having people who may not always be those who want to be there, or everybody wants their thing discussed, or their item, the thing that they care most about, but sometimes it's not always a priority. So you have to have good conflict resolution skills, and just being able, it all comes down to communication. Sometimes people may want emails. Sometimes people want on Teams, we're on Teams or Zoom, dropping things in the chat. Sometimes people still want to be called. They want you to pick up the phone and call. And then some people are into text messages, SMS. So you just have to look at your stakeholders, and the area what you communicate with may depend on that stakeholder. So number one is communication skills.
So okay, there are so many stakeholders. Now you're saying we have, and different stakeholders have different needs.
Mhm.
So one of the thing, we talked about this in our session, that we need to have a stakeholder register where we identify each of these stakeholders, who they are, what the impact, positive, negative, internal, external, and what kind of communication they need, when they need, in what format they need, what tools they need. So there are many things we have to think, and very important. Communication is very important. So sending the right communication, or having right communication to right stakeholder is key, very important for the project success.
It's very important. And I love the fact that when I was studying the PgMP, that stakeholder register was one thing that had been mentioned, and that was very important. And I have to say that both from the PMP and the PgMP, I scored high. Scored highest in the stakeholder engagement area. So that's always something that I always enjoy doing. But it was coming to the PgMP that I learned about the stakeholder register, and then from there you build your power map to say, of the stakeholders, who holds um, who do you need to reach out to the most, who's the most important, who has the most um, the highest view of what you need to do in your stakeholder with your stakeholders in your stakeholder register. So I really enjoyed learning about that, and I'm actually on a new contract with my firm, and the first thing I did coming into that new contract was start a stakeholder register, see who are my stakeholders, see who's the most interested in the project, who may be high in the organization, who may not care about it that much. So you just have to, that stakeholder register is really key.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. I got a couple of points on the question pad. Read it first. I have a question as well. Somebody has mentioned that PgMP seems very easy. So look, I will tell you, easy or difficult depends on how ready you are. If you're ready, you've done everything what you needed, and required questions you done, and you are scoring as PMI expecting, then any exam can be easy. So I'm assuming that either you are prepared, you already done the PgMP, or you're preparing for PgMP with assumption that exam is easy. So if you are preparing for the exam, don't assume that way, because it is, some people may be saying easy because they have passed the exam easily, because they were very ready, and others may, have to struggle because they were a little bit less than what PMI expected.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you already done PgMP, you're very well. Congratulations. If not, let's talk about it, and I will make it more easy for you as well. All right, so that's the first point. The second, I have a question here, and what is your take on benefit management and delivery of BAU, business as usual, operation phase after project has delivered? How do you go about setting the benefit baseline, measuring the delivery of benefit once the project has delivered? So you got the point, or do you want me to repeat?
No, I think I got the gist of it. So the benefits management, how do you deliver the benefits? Yeah, so I would say the benefits is the key area for the PGMP. And if a benefit is not realized, then it's no reason of having the program altogether because you want to realize the benefits. Sometimes the benefits are realized a little bit at a time. So maybe it's not realized as a whole, and I was on a program where that was the case, where we had like a key metric, a KPI, where we were driving from 4% when we started the program, and because of regulations, we had to go all the way to 100%. And there was no backing down from that. So we were delivering benefits, as we were, kind of closing out the KPIs, um, but the benefits will not be fully realized until they're at 100%. I'm no longer on that project or at that firm, but I don't think they've realized 100% yet. So, they just keep going until they get to that 100%. So, and then sometimes benefits are real. So that's one case where benefits are realized a little bit at a time. And maybe some things can be closed out a little bit at a time, maybe a project here or a project there. Um, but then there are some projects that you have to, keep going until or the benefit, I'm sorry, the benefit of a project can be closed out. And they can um, realize the benefits at the total at the end. So so that's another way of doing it. I think the business as usual thing is when you have to also train your application management, the application maintenance piece of it, to not operate in business as usual. Because if you're delivering the benefits, you continue going with that with your benefits transition plan and benefits sustainment plan, and that way business won't be as usual, because they might fall back into the old practices, and you don't want that. So having your benefit sustainment plan will enable the application management team, or if it's not an application, or the maintenance team, to continue on sustaining those benefits even after the project is over. And I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, I think you have, and there's a follow up on that.
Please.
Okay, so how do you, in your experience, convince your project board to take a decision? We would create an option paper or an exception plan to overcome a problem you encounter that may increase the cost of time. What is the PMP way of doing it?
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think I've got it. So, um, in my experience, your project board, or the person who hires you, perhaps your program manager or your project sponsor, we'll just keep with the projects. Your project sponsor may not know exactly what you're going to do. That's why they're hiring you as a project manager, to use your skill set to understand what needs to be done. So in my experience, one thing I did was to create a repository of something that we needed to have, and in the organization, to store all of our deliverables that were coming out, and decision points that were coming out. So it ended up adding more time to the process because they weren't really used to doing process management in that way. But by doing it and just saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is something that I decided to institute, and take that to the project sponsor and just share that with them and engaging with them and just doing it, then they after a while saw that, oh, this really is something that we could use. This is something of value. We appreciate that, and we're going to continue with that. So it was kind of taking the initiative. I think the PMP way to do it takes some initiative, which is not just PMP, and just setting it up, and making your processes plain and documenting and explaining to your project sponsors, and then they can see the value and just continue that. Now, it's something that you as a project manager would have to research and make sure that you're doing, according to what is in your lane of your project, if you will. But again, explaining and engaging with the stakeholders for them to see that, I think would be a good thing, and they'll see that it has value. So that's one area that I've been able to do in my experience.
No, great. Thank you very much. And thank you for asking the question. No problem. I know it's okay. More question means more interaction,
Sure.
and you will get more value out of it. So no problem at all. We will be happy to answer any question. We will try at least.
Okay.
So do you agree whether the political environment and stakeholders' expectation represent a significant risk to a project? Share your experience and views.
With the political environment.
Hmm.
Okay, so with the political environment, yeah, so sometimes things kind of happen outside, they're external, external factors. So you have to, as they come in, you just kind of have to take that into consideration. There was a political item a couple years ago regarding a situation here in America with George Floyd, unfortunately, and that's where African American gentleman was, you know, killed, and it was a high political, kind of type of event, and so some of the areas of the project kind of slowed down because of that. We had some issues of the um, there were local area like protests and um, peaceful protests. There were areas of, and this, I think, so there was that. Then there was COVID, and with COVID, there were the supply chain views. So we had the issue with George Floyd, and that kind of caused something that kind of caused a slowdown in productivity, and what we were trying to get something done. So we had that, and at the same time, we had the COVID-19 um, political, in that not really was political. That was just an external factor that nobody can control. And we had backups with the supply chain. So we were trying to get out a piece of mail to our consumers, and we couldn't get it out in time because of the slowdowns of the supply chain. So we had to, this is again a regulatory compliance kind of thing. So they're like, the regulatory body's like, okay, nope, you still have to do it. So, you're just gonna have to do it. So we had to explain that. Okay, so we're hitting this kind of this impediment that we can't get over. And so you just have to mark that down on paper and submit that, and it's fine. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches and make sure you document and include it in your project plan as something that happens. It's a risk that turned into an issue, and just work with that accordingly. And so I think in that degree, I think the main thing is just doing your documentation. So that way, when you go back like a year later and say, oh, what happened here? Then you can remember, oh, yeah, we had this, and we had this issue, which turned into this risk, and it was all fine in the end, or not all fine in the end, but at least you documented things, and so that way you knew um, how to overcome that impediment if there was an opportunity to, and then you just had it documented to move on forward with it.
So Michelle, just I think just maybe I paraphrase the question. Political environment, how organizations have various stakeholders, they want to climb the ladder, they pull in somebody, and they for no reason they ask you different difficult questions, and try to pull you down somehow. That's where I think the political environment situation, the
Okay,
high
I
expect,
see.
yeah.
I see. I'm sorry. So I went over and above and beyond, but I was looking as a whole. So my apologies. But that was something that I honestly, came against. But yes, internally, I just had an issue that I had. It was a political thing in the organization. So I'm working on a new contract in my for my firm, and I was kind of so I'm on a billable client, and I was kind of stuck in between two executives. And it was
Mhm.
no fault of anybody. It was just, one executive thought one thing, another executive thought another. So I had to engage with the stakeholders to be sure that I um, made my issues known, that I was having this issue, and that this was something that I couldn't resolve on my own. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I didn't want to like get in trouble, if you will. So that way
Mm.
I would come off of the billable clients. Um, but it was something that occurred, and I had to um, engage with both of the stakeholders in different ways. So one stakeholder told me, "Oh no, you're supposed to be doing this." So I had to take that to. So that wasn't the stakeholder who hired me in this position. I had to go take that to the stakeholder who hired me and say, "Hey, I got this information. Is this correct?" And it worked out in the end. But yeah, it was a political item, and I don't know if there was one item that um, where one stakeholder, the stakeholder who hired me thought it was supposed to be this thing, and they were kind of against the other stakeholder. But so at that regard, I don't know, because I'm not, you know, in this role, I'm not
Yeah.
that high. But so I don't know what that was, but it was something that happened, and something that I needed to engage the stakeholders about.
Yeah, yeah. No, the good. Thanks for your point. Yeah, the political environment is political. Some situation, some organization, people are trying to climb the ladder, and in the process, they see as other person as competitors, and especially they see as a program. I don't want this program to be successful, and they do everything. So your job is to document everything, as you mentioned, documentation. Very important to document everything and identify it as a risk in the risk register and escalate to the right people. If you are not the right person to handle that, don't be afraid to escalate to your sponsor, and the sponsor can take it to the next level.
Correct. Yes, escalation is
Yeah,
always key.
yeah, okay, good. Thank you very much. So let me see if I have other questions here. How to apply PGMP knowledge into projects?
Oh, so,
uh, Project or program. I think PMP more universal. We know everybody knows about PMP or PMBOK and easy to apply into the projects. Okay.
mhm.
PGMP is more complex for projects, but may not have enough for the organization's business change management.
I see. Okay, I got you. Okay, so I think one thing that one way that I began introducing my PMP knowledge or PGMP knowledge is one is the stakeholder engagement, the stakeholder map, and the register. So doing the register, looking at the stakeholders, and then drawing a map to say who is stakeholders, who hosts the highest value, the highest point of the organization, who is most interested, who do I need to inform most, who's interested but may have a lower interest level. And so that was one thing that I gathered from PgMP. Another thing is the part of the benefits. The main thing, the reason why the PgMP exists is for the benefits. What are the benefits overall? And that's something that you can introduce and perhaps take it to your senior stakeholder, maybe your program sponsor, and they may not know what it is. Like I said, like you said, PgMP is not, it's still being discussed now. The items are not well known as like PMP is well known, but it's something that you still can take with it. So those are the two things that I really got out of it. And then stakeholder engagement. I know that I can't remember. I think I studied for the PMBOK, because with PgMP, you still have to look at some of the PMBOK items and know some of those key formulas and key things. So I can't remember if I studied from the 6th or 7th edition, but um, I know
I
the
think it's 36 edition.
7th edition. Okay, I know I don't have the most recent, so I might have studied for using
Yeah,
the
yeah.
6th edition. But the PgMP talks about stakeholder engagement. I know somewhere along the line, it was stakeholder management. And then we got the idea where you can't manage your stakeholders. So I think that was another key thing for me, is how to engage with your stakeholders. Because you are, I think as a PMP, for me, I felt like I was a lower person in the organization, if you will. But the PgMP gave me a little more panache, a little more, okay, I have a little more of a certification, so I can engage with my stakeholders. Maybe I'm not on their level, but I'm a little more closer to their level. So it's easier for me to engage with them and
Mm,
offer my feedback, of not just taking what they're telling me to do, but I can come up with my own options and take that to them and say, okay, this is something that I think as a recommendation, and I can take that to them confidently. So I think that was another thing that I, gathered from the PGMP. And I think it's just just an extra boost, because there's only 4,100 of us in the whole world. So
mm.
that's another thing that I'm like, okay, I can sit a little higher
That's
now.
it. So look, PMP, PMBOK, if you're talking about the project, you can straight away apply to the project. Most of the things you can easily do that. But when it comes to the PGMP learning from the standard for program management, you can apply this knowledge to the programs, definitely, where they're talking about stakeholder engagement or governance structure or the benefit management, and all this you can easily apply to most of the programs. But applying this to the project, some of these, of course, we still have stakeholder engagement, you can apply there. And some projects also talk about benefit. So you also talk about the benefit identification and benefit management plan, all those. Some of this learning, you can apply that to a project level as well. Governance, you need to set up a governance steering committee, and having the PMO support and all kind of things can be there. And just for the clarification, most people, some organizations, they may not have concept of programs. They still have a project and portfolio and kind of that. So they don't have the concept of the program altogether.
Right.
What that means is they don't understand what program is all about. But you as a program, as going through the PGMP learning, you will realize that, hey, this is not actually a project. From PMI's point of view, this is a program. But the learning I'm going to get from PGMP or Standard for Program Management will help me to do my job better.
Right.
Especially when you are talking with managing multiple interdependent projects within your mega project.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you for mentioning that. And that was one thing that I found on my project program that I stayed on for a long time, 8 years. And it was a project, it's something that developed, and then there were multiple projects that developed from that. baseline projects, and they all had interdependent benefits. And so that made it a program. And so my stakeholders didn't, that you're right, they didn't know that. And then I was able to bring that to them. And there was kind of at the time where I was studying for the PgMP and learning about it. And so I was able to just take that to them as an idea. And then they kind of start saying that more. So that was a good thing. Good rationale that you mentioned, Durham.
Good, thank you. And let me know if the question is answered as per your expectation, or you have any follow-up. So I
Okay.
mean, because the fact is we cannot talk, there's no opportunity for you to talk. At least you can put your message, yes, I'm okay or not okay or something, and the follow-up discussion can be there. Anyway, so thank you for the question. And I think on the same line, there's another question about the bits around PgMP, PfMP versus Agile. I know you are working in Agile environment. Now you're PgMP. What is your view on that? And then I will also talk, but you can tell us your view.
Okay, so for me, I was in a waterfall environment for a regulatory area, and then I've worked as a Scrum Master before, but I don't have my Scrum Master certification. It's one thing that I like to get is on my list of alphabet soup kind of things, as they say, all the certifications that you can go behind your name. And so I think that in the project that I'm on right now is another regulatory compliance project, and they would prefer to have it waterfall. But I think that some waterfall items can be inserted along the way, which is what probably is going to go for me. But I think it depends on what area you're in and what your stakeholders are looking for, because there's still room for waterfall, still room. There's agile out there, and a lot of agile are in, like, especially in software development projects. But I've been on several regulatory projects, and I've seen that at I'm sorry, I've been on several regulatory projects, and they prefer waterfall, but then I've been on a couple of application development projects and they prefer agile. So I think that there's room for everything. I don't think it has to be a either or, either this or that. It might be an and along the way. So I think it's a benefit in learning all of the methodologies that you can, but certainly the PgMP is good because it's the only one that has the benefits as a driver, where we were working towards the projects are working towards the same the projects are working towards the same benefits. And I
Yeah,
think that's key, because if you have several interdependent projects, I think it's more cost advantageous to run it as a program. And you as a PGMP or a soon to be PGMP can help your organization to understand that.
yeah. So I think maybe the question I probably didn't read properly. There's a community who believes PgMP is not applicable to agile programs. So let's explain, what is program? Program is all about managing interdependent component or projects to deliver the organization objective, to deliver the benefits. So this component of these projects can be waterfall, this can be agile, this can be hybrid, it can be any. So think about you running, very like a mega $1 million, $1 billion work. There can be different type, you're updating the, online, improving the online presence, you have application happening, you have infrastructure development, you have something else happening. So all can be in different, methodology, because whatever applicable. And what matters is how you manage this interdependency in the most efficient way so that you get the results. So that's what you get from the PGMP learning.
Okay.
Okay. So
Good.
thank
That's a
you.
good way to put it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the
So thank you
master.
for the
Thank you.
question. All right. I have a lot of questions coming, which is great thing. I will come back to the question. Let me ask my question first. How to identify stakeholder pressure points in a project?
Pressure points. Okay, yeah. You go in, I think a good way is to go in. I'm doing a requirements gathering with the BA team right now, and we're looking at the the stakeholder pain points.
Mm.
Where do they, where would they like to have some relief in their process? Is there an item that they, have to do in their process right now, but maybe don't want to do? And can we, as a project team or program team, have the opportunity to take advantage of improving that process improvement? There has some of that change management in there a little bit. And so, yeah, the pressure points, you definitely want to look at those because the stakeholders will look at you as somebody, you come in and say, hey, this project manager, this program manager is going to come in and help me out with this and help me kind of solve this problem. And so, of course, we always want to be problem solvers if we can. And that adds to the value add of yourself and to the organization. So I think looking at the pain points, and asking them, not being afraid to ask them what their pain points are, and thinking about how you can solve those.
So basically, conversation and interviews will help you to understand their pressure point.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
of course, you ask them what is the most pressing point for you, what is the most important point for you. It can be multiple of them, but what is the most important? So you can prioritize the list accordingly and focus more on those.
absolutely.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. All right. So who are the critical players in the project who might have dominant influence on stakeholders' decision making?
The dominant players in the project who might have dominant effects.
Decision making. Yeah.
Okay, so the one dominant is the project sponsor, because he or she is paying for the project. So you always want
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
sure you're meeting their needs. And then also the application developers or the BAs. When you think about agile, kind of the agile teams, any role in the agile team that's um, helping to solve the problem. I think us
Mhm.
as project managers and program managers, we're key because we kind of keep everything in line. We kind of keep everything humming. It's like a drum beat. It's like something that you may not see, but I think it's critical. So I guess we could say we're critical as well because we're helping to set the tone of having regular meetings and keeping the team on task and keeping the team, as they say, keep them honest towards what the process is, or what's the end goal of what needs to be done.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So I will take a question. So what were your learning from failed attempt of PGMP exam? And what
Okay.
are your tips for studying and passing the PGMP exam?
Okay, I have a lot of those, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think I just kind of went in and I did not think about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't, well, at first I didn't study for it. It was, to me, and I'm just going to say for me, it was harder than the PGMP. I'm sorry, harder than the PMP, which you would think it's harder, but I didn't realize how much harder. So I'm going to show you my book, and I brought a couple of my books. I set them aside now because I don't want to see these books anymore now that I'm finished with the the passing of the test, but I need it, to go back to. So here is my standard for program management. Here's the test that the book is based on. So it's a small book. It's not as big as the PGMP at all. And so I read through it, and I'm like, okay, okay. I dog-eared it. I was like, okay, I think I got this. And so I went in and I failed it. So had to go back in. I think I might have read it once or twice. And so now it's all dog-eared and highlighted up and everything. So for me, that was that was like the first lesson. I don't want to say I didn't take it seriously enough, but maybe. And that was one lesson. And then another lesson was I didn't keep my head in the game. I told a friend of mine who recently passed, I'm very excited for her, um, that you have to stay focused the whole way through. I remember one time one of my failed attempts, I was thinking about when I had to pick up my stepson. Like, okay, I'm going to pick him up at this time. And I'm looking at the questions. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to pick him up at this time. And I have that in my head. And no, that did not work. So that was a failed attempt. And so I have to say, you have to keep your head in the game the whole 4 hours. You have to keep your head in the game. So it took me 3.5 hours to go through it, and then I went back through it for the last half an hour to be sure I had everything good. So I just think that you have to stay focused and you have to not underestimate it. And you have to read and ask questions and do the practice exams multiple times and not make sure you're not like on the cusp of where you need to be. So say, Durham says you have to be at 80%, you know, before you take the exam. And so I was like at 75. I was like, no, I have to be at 80. So I think along the way, I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay. I got that. And no, I didn't have it. So I've got a lot of lessons learned there. So yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm praying, I'm hoping that everybody, who hasn't taken it passes the first time. And that's great. That just wasn't my story.
Yeah, so thank you again, sharing your own experiences. The important thing is lesson learned. What was your approach initially, and what do you do next time? So to
Oh,
feel you even better, to make you feel better, last year I got 21 people came to me. They tried the exam at least once, and I'm not counting you at the time. So 21 people came to me. They have tried the exam once, twice, thrice. One person actually tried the exam 5 times. Again, I can also appreciate that he never gave up. And so the important, what you mentioned is sometimes, the book is very small. I can read it and do some online exam, and what's the big deal? What's how much I have to study? I will read it 10 times, and people do that. And when they go to the exam, they didn't realize the complexity of the questions. The questions are not just for the book. Believe it or not, yeah, the book is important. I'm not going to say book is not important, but book is very important. But you need to look beyond book because the questions are scenario based. If
that's
you
right.
have never done the programs in real life programs, then you're going to struggle. If you cannot relate with the concept, it's going to be even struggle. So one of the approach I have is to make you to visualize things. I want you to visualize, not just read it. People think that reading and memorizing will be fine. Maybe that can work in some of the ACP exam or maybe PMP exam or some other exam. But PgMP and PfMP, these two exams is not that easy. You cannot just memorize and go. You need to visualize. You need to connect, the program you're doing and how this PgMP will help me. The learning of PgMP will help me, and you have to live with that. When you did the program with me, you actually I encourage you to apply the knowledge into day-to-day programs. So that become part of you. And also doing that question mock exam, lots of mock exam, and I will suggest you some of the question bank, and I will put you in the hardest, not easy path. Dharam, you're asking me to do this question. I don't like this question. Okay, fine, but I still want you to do these questions because I know this has helped my 446 PGMPs, and it's going to help you as well. Even though you don't like it, but I'm still insisting you to try. It's not about liking or not liking. What is still missing in your learning? That's what it is all about. Anyway, so this topic is a huge topic, and I keep talking about it
I,
because,
I, I I think
yeah,
you're right, and I wanted to have an opportunity to say yes, and that's where you have to engage a professional, like Durham. This is the advertisement for you because working with him, and I work with him several times. I work with him just on the question bank and like just the materials. I did a boot camp with him, and I think that part was good too. So you have to. At some point, engage the professionals as well to help you along the way. So very good point, and I do appreciate you and your skills, Durham, and really working with you. So that really helped me too.
yeah, thank you very much. All right. So, okay. Another question: any other books, assets you used, uh, other than what you know? Do you have any other books you want to mention?
Yeah, so I use the Durham your reference guide, and this of course dog-eared, multiple times and highlighted and things like that.
Yeah.
Then I also used, and I don't have this one in front of me, but there's one by Dr.
I think
Ginger.
Dr. Ginger
Yes,
Levine.
yes, Dr. Ginger Levin, and I should have put it's like literally behind me. I don't want to get up and share with you, but Dr. Ginger Levin, and then there was Allah Sultan, and
Yeah.
he has a question bank that is on the it's online, and so I put it on my
Okay.
phone, and that was one thing that I could do, like out when I'm at the doctor's office waiting for the doctor. Let me look at a question here or there. So I always had the materials around me and always looking at it and trying to apply it even in my work. So those are the items that I
Uh,
use.
all right, great. And I think you have answered the second question, where did you get the practice exam? So you'd already mentioned about that. So good, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so let me take the next question. How does active role modeling between C-suite executives and managers help in effective sponsorship building? We're talking sponsorship building.
Okay, that's a good question. Because I actually meet on a regular basis on my client project with the CIO. So I'm meeting
Mm,
with C-suites, and I'm meeting with the project sponsor on the regulatory side, and I'm meeting with the project um, portfolio manager. Sorry. So the portfolio manager is a step above, and think I would consider the compliance officer, and of course the CIO, and C-suite. And so that kind of helps me on, on the sponsorship side, because I definitely want to be sure that I'm keeping in with them and keeping in line with what they're looking for, and engaging them in a different way, perhaps. Maybe it is, I do have a executive leadership review for 15 minutes, and the review is a little more concise. So, you have your project sponsor, I'm sorry, your project charter, program charter, and then other items, but those are longer. So you want to keep your items concise for your higher level executives.
yeah, perfect. Thank you. All right, so okay, I will take the next question. Do you find, let me, okay, when studying for PMP, I'm assuming it's PMP or PGMP. Okay, when studying for your PMP, what was your schedule? And how did you fit it in with your family life? Of course, very important. Do you have an really strict or a motivate to stay with your schedule?
Okay, so is that PMP related?
I mean, let's take a PGMP. I think
PMP.
more.
Okay, okay. And I can give you both. PMP, I was like in grad school and studying, so I had no life, and working full time, I had no life. And then PGMP, I was married. I'm divorced now, unfortunately. It's not because of the PGMP. But just wanted to put that out there. It's not because of that. But I mean, just being real with my experience. So I did have to balance that. I was working full time, and then managing, the household and kids and bills and husband, and so, and studying. So it was harder that time, and I had to make sure I set some time aside, and just get the job done. So I just kept going, and but honestly, like I said, I was thinking about picking up my stepson, and I was thinking that during one of the exams. And while that's good, because you need to be able to take care of your family and your children and everything, but having that thought during the PgMP exam was not the thing I should have been doing. So yeah, so you do have to balance it with whatever you have going on.
Yeah. So one of the thing, and what you mentioned, thoughts going on, different things happening in the exam. Like 4 hour exam, staying focused for 4 hours is not that easy because 170 question, and after like I think probably half after 1 hour or 1.5 hours, you start feeling lazy and sleepy and
Right.
boring, and especially when you're not getting the expected questions. and start losing your focus and start thinking something else, which you talked about. So one of the things which I will talk, I normally talk before the exam. I have a personal session with all my students, 7 days of the exam. That's where we talk about what to do, what not to do in the last 7 days. And of course, I also do quick check if you're ready to take the exam or not. And if required, I ask you to postpone the exam, but so. But important, and in that session, we'll talk about how to approach your exam. If you see this kind of question, what do you do? If you see the complex, lengthy, formula-based question, what do you do with that? So it's all about keeping your motivation up. And also I'm going to encourage to take a break after 2 hours so that you can, if one is to see, it's a checkpoint to see how are you going with the exam. Are you on the right track? Because when you're going on that path, you don't think. But when you take a break, it helps you to realize, where you can improve. Okay. So like, it's staying focused is important, and having a work-life balance is very important. Work-life and study on top of it, because everybody, we have family, we have a work which is very demanding, and on top of that, 1 or 2 hours per night is sometimes can be too much to ask. But it is all about clarity in your mind. This is my vision. This is where I have to be in 2 months, 3 months time. I have to be PgMP. And an important thing is, why do I need PgMP? If you have no motivation, if you let's say, okay, because my manager asked me to do PgMP, because I need extra money, because I did an extra job. These are not great motivation, but maybe connect this motivation of my PgMP with something bigger. I will be the first person in my organization, I will be the first person in the country, and I will be able to help more people, I will be able to assist people. That these kind of motivation will keep you going. Because these are not for me, it's about others. When you have vision like this, nobody can stop you, not even you yourself. Because something will come out and you know what, reminding you your purpose is not done. This is the reason you want to do certificate or something, anything. Having clarity of vision and having no doubt about the vision will make you successful.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I just get carried away sometimes. So
I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
For the people, like I have shared the PDU code. If you have not noticed so far, because you're listening, it is on chat. So please take a note of that, the PDU and the course identifier and the PDU claim code. And it is active, so you can start using that. You will be able to earn the 1 PDU from this session. And people listening to this webinar, you have to contact me, and I will have to provide you the PDU code. And of course, I will ask you a few questions. What was the learning you got, and something like that. Anyway, but yes, if you have watched the video, you will get the PDU code. If you we're watching now, you already have PDU code. All right. So I have a few more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I can stay on.
Because a few questions are there. So where can we find great stakeholder engagement techniques?
Okay, great stakeholder engagement techniques. I think so. I keep harping on the stakeholder engagement map, but the register. So we can find that in the PgMP guide. It talks about that in the standard for program management. So that's one thing. So I'm definitely gonna say that as a new PgMP. So that's one thing where you can find it. And then you can also find it, you can Google anything and find it online. And then just coming to professional groups such as this, or webinars such as this, I think that it's really key to take that and get your stakeholder register, just like you would do a risk register, and list everything out, and who's included, what their involvement is, how they like to be communicated. So that's goes into your communication plan, and then take that into the power grid, where you're looking at your highest level stakeholders in the organization, and like who's most interested in what the level they have. And then also looking at on the lower part of the grid, like who is maybe least interested or has least power, So that's a good thing, and all of that is talked about in the standard for program management. So I'm definitely gonna, give a shout out to our lovely PMI not chapter, the lovely PMI organization, and saying that you need to get the program management um, practice book, and that's this book here. So other than that, you can always Google things, or ask other program managers about that. And that's at the program side, and I don't have the 7th edition of the PMP, the PMBOK,
The framework,
but
yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if it's I'm sure it's discussing the PMBOK, but you're definitely in the PGMP program book. So I'll
Okay,
just say that, yeah.
perfect. Thank you. All right. So my other question is, do you find PGMP or PMP qualification give you better chance of promotion and hence better pay in your organization? Is there a fast track to the promotion, or having this certificate, has this helped you to get promotion or more money?
Gotcha. Well, I know for the PMP, my salary doubled.
Oh, wow.
It doubled, yes. When I when I took the PMP, I was in a row, and then I took another row, and my salary doubled, and that was fantastic.
Hmm.
Now I would say I hadn't seen that, much of a bump in, that far, but I've just been going up and up and up and up. So that's been good. So for the PGMP, my salary hasn't gone up yet because I'm in a new role, and I'm in a startup. So I have a chance to do more things and apply that in more ways at a higher level. I'm a director and an organization. And so it hasn't bumped up yet, but I'm hoping that it will. But I was interested more so for the professional development piece, because I had been a PMP for so long, and I wanted to do something else. And I felt like I was already doing project management in my old company with the firm that I was at before. And so I feel like I had the knowledge base to be able to do that. So with this company that I'm at, I have more opportunity for more bonuses. And so I think it will go up. But I really did it for the professional development. And I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
doing more things, like the portfolio management and the Scrum Master and all these other things, because it's something that I want to do to keep going and learning things. I am a professional student, a lifelong learner. So
Good, good. That's it. That's the approach. Keep learning, whatever wherever you get the knowledge from. So fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And guys, if you have any particular question which you ask, thinking about PGMP, PfMP, or anything, feel free to book some time with me. Happy to go through the process. And yeah, anything burning in your mind, definitely book some time and connect with me. If you're not connected, and say hi to me on LinkedIn or somewhere. So that will tell me that you're interested. I will, we can have a chat. Um, so I do have a couple more questions from audience. So let me take them. I don't want to disappoint them. So our stakeholders are extremely busy with multiple priorities.
hmm
Please share effective ways to identify stakeholders' need. Probably we have covered it, but if you want to, put some, them the light.
Okay, yeah, sure. I think that having one-on-ones with stakeholders and finding out what they are interested in, even if it's for like 15 minutes, and that's where I'm at with my current project, and my client list is wildly busy. I have CIOs and VPs that I meet with on a regular basis. Even as a project manager on this group, I'm meeting with these senior level folks. So just booking some time with them. My vice president, when I joined the firm, she told me to have some idea of what they might be interested in, list out some areas, and have something that you can show them and say, hey, I'm a new project manager here. I'm on this project. Have you heard about this project? What are some things that you might be interested in learning? And I've booked and it was like kind of around the holidays, so people were kind of I'm not in a, the crazy busiest time, but and they had more time and they had more flexibility. So I was able to schedule 30 minutes here or there. But now I'm having 15 minutes with these stakeholders just to see what's on their minds and to see what they might be thinking and what they are thinking about what I have, what I'm preparing, because they may have some thoughts about that or maybe want to poke some holes in it and give me some things to think about. So there are ways to encourage your stakeholders to communicate with you. And what I found is that the stakeholders are wildly busy and they have their schedules are really packed up, but they don't mind, they'll move around a couple things for you if they're interested in this project. So just send them an email, introduce yourself, and say that you would like to get some of their time to understand their pain points. We talked about that. So I'm sure they have pain points, and you're the project manager, and you might have areas that you want to dive into. There might be areas that you are hired to dive into, and so it will be worth your while and worth their while for them to meet with you. So there are ways.
Okay, fantastic. So let me take the last question, unless we get something else, but last question.
Sure.
In your experience, have you set up a PMO to help you deliver? And how did you go about setting the PMO up and tailoring that PMO for your needs? So you need to sometimes tailor it. In the UK, we have APM, and I would like to know how it aligned with the USA project manager.
Gotcha. So yes, I do have experience setting up a PMO, in which I currently set up the PMO in my current firm, and was brought in to set up a PMO. As a matter of fact, my I work for CEO. I report directly to him, and he brought me over to set up the project management practice and and the PMO to help manage the practice. So you come in and you have ideas of what I've done in the past. You set up different standards and templates and processes. And so I've done that with timesheets, with reporting, and with hiring as well. So, a flavor into hiring project managers. So I've had experience setting up PMOs and working with, so definitely. So maybe a PMO is like a APM in the UK, and so I do have experience doing that. And in fact, that's one thing that I enjoy doing. So I'm grateful to be able to do that at my current firm and not get the pay bump yet that I hope will be coming in the future. But I'm okay with that because I have an opportunity to put my stamp on things that I may not already have done before if I was in a large corporation. So setting up a PMO is really good, and I enjoy that as well. So it really is just setting up your processes and tools and templates and reporting and things of that nature, for the firm to your company to continue to move on. So yes, I have experience with that.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Michelle. It was very enlightening. It's very excited. A lot of information was shared, and I'm very happy to have you. It's great to have you here, and
It's great to be here.
yeah, and thank you all of you for putting your questions and listening. And even though we are over time, but you stayed here. That
Yes.
shows that you're learning and engaging. And yeah, so please take care of yourself. And if you need any guidance, help, anything related to any certificate, especially in PMI side, I'll be very happy to work with you and help you with that. And take your journey from start to end. I have done it for many people with the PgMP, and actually at the PfMP, I already have 5 or 6 PfMP in this year. It's not
Oh
even
wow.
second year, second month, or even February we just started. And
Wow.
actually PfMP going great this year already. And
Great.
I'm hoping to see 50 to 60 PfMP in this year. And
Okay.
I'm hoping to see. Last year I got 74, so I want to at least go beyond 74, maybe 80 PgMP or more than that. But okay, number doesn't matter. What matters is you come here and learn and get your certificate. I need only one PgMP from you. That's it. I need nothing else.
It's too funny because I really enjoy being a part of the number because I've been to a number of these already and I've enjoyed listening to them and learning as I was studying for the PGMP. And I was thinking like, I can't wait to be a part of Durham's numbers. I'm so excited to be a part of the number, and that's great. Hoping to be a part of your PFMP number in the future. And I do appreciate you having me here. And I wanted to also say, if you're interested, you can please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That would be great. I'd love to talk with you.
Great stuff. So
Great.
thank you for being so generous, and people love to connect, and they will definitely connect with you. And it's all about sharing and caring. Why
That's
not?
right.
So
Why not?
keep watching. I have a lot of webinars coming up. I have a Frederick coming up he's from, I think, Denmark. Yeah, he's from Denmark. He was in
Wow.
US when he did PFMP, and he's now moved to Denmark. And then I have other Veena from US, and many others are planned over next few months. I want to bring the people, they have a lot to offer. At the same time, they are not in the limelight. So this way, my small effort is to bring more and more people in front of you so that you continue to learn from them and I continue to build my knowledge bank, which will be available for anybody as long as YouTube is there. So keep learning from that. So once again,
Great.
thank you, Michelle. Thank you, all of you, and
Thank you.
be part
Thank
of
you.
this group and discussion. And very happy to see all of you here.
Great. Thank you for joining. Thank you for having me.
All right. And
Okay.
till next time, bye. And I will see you again. Take care, guys, and see you again. Bye.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.